remain standing for the posting of the colors and the singing of the national anthem, and remain standing through the invocation. Let us pray. O God, who has called each of us by name, we gather with grateful hearts and listening ears as we hear these graduates' names spoken aloud today at the conferring of degrees. Let us also hear your voice calling each one present to receive a word of purpose and direction in life. Today, O God, we acknowledge the work of these students and their achievement of this major goal. We know in these years they have faced adversity and have overcome obstacles. They have persevered and indeed flourished. We recognize what they have invested, what they have gained, what they have contributed, and who they have become while in community with us, and we are grateful. We celebrate this finishing of a chapter even as we look forward to the story, your story that will move on after this moment into a hopeful future. May each of us find his or her part in that unfolding story. So with family and friends who have gathered to encourage and support these graduates, we welcome your presence, O Creator, who has anticipated this moment from the beginning of time. Gather us now to be with you as you are with us. Amen. You may be seated.
Good morning. Welcome to the 49th Methodist University Winter Commencement. I'm Stan Worden, President of Methodist University. Graduates, I am proud of you. We've been through some tough times together, haven't we? But tough times bring our character to the surface, and what I've seen in you has been resilience and commitment to one another and to Methodist University. I've seen you getting yourselves vaccinated and wearing masks to protect yourselves, your friends, and the MU community. I've seen you working hard to lift the spirits of those around you, and I've seen you staying focused on completing your Methodist University education. We've had plenty of challenges, and sometimes they seem to change by the hour, but you've done what needed to be done. Instead of letting the pandemic break you, you have risen to the challenges every day. You have cared for one another every day, and you have found what it took to finish your degree in dignity and style. What an amazing group of graduates. We have indeed moved forward together. It's been a lifelong privilege for me to spend these past few years with you, with this group of gifted, dedicated, courageous, brilliant, and loving people who in just a little while will become Methodist University alumni. There will be sunny days ahead for you, and there'll be cloudy days too. During the sunny days, I hope you will look back on these days and the joy, love, and learning you've experienced at Methodist University. During the cloudy days, I hope you will look back on this period of your lives and remember, you've got this. You've shown you have what it takes to endure, to prevail, and to succeed because you've done so in the face of one of the greatest challenges in modern history. Remember this time. Remember each other and the faculty and staff of Methodist University who have worked so hard to care for you. Remember your families and friends who've made many sacrifices so you may have a better life. Remember your alma mater with pride and love, because that is how your alma mater will remember you. Remember, too, the Methodist University commitment to truth, virtue, justice, and love, because our ability to thrive during a global pandemic has been rooted in these values. Graduates, I'm proud of you. And now I ask everyone to join me in applauding this remarkable group of Methodist University graduates. Now, graduates, I ask you to rise and turn toward your loved ones, your faculty, and our staff who've joined you in celebration here today. And please give them a round of applause for all they've done to support you and help ensure your success. Thank you. Please be seated. Let me now introduce the members of the platform party. I ask them to stand as I say their names. Mr. Mac Healy, Chairman of the Board of Trustees. Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Provost. General Michael Garrett, our commencement speaker. The Reverend Kelly Taylor, University Chaplain. Ms. Yasmin Brown, Registrar. Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dean of Health Sciences and Human Services. Dr. Tat Chan, Dean of Business, Technology, and Professional Studies. Dr. J.R. Hustwit, Dean of Arts, Humanities, and Sciences. Dr. Mika Mitchell, Alumni Association President. Please give them a round of applause. Please be seated. It's now my great privilege to introduce today's commencement speaker, General Michael X. Garrett. As commander of the U.S. Army's largest organization, headquartered down the street at Fort Bragg, he ensures the readiness of 745,000 soldiers across the country and the Army's active and reserve components. The son of an Army Command Sergeant Major, General Garrett has spent his entire life in and around the Army. After earning his degree and commission at Xavier University, he served his formative years in the 75th Ranger Regiment and came to Fort Bragg to command a battalion in the 82nd Airborne Division. He also commanded and deployed an Alaska-based airborne brigade in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. He returned to Iraq as Chief of Staff for Fort Bragg's 18th Airborne Corps and spent several more years focused on the Middle East from within U.S. Central Command. As a four-star general, General Garrett has commanded Army Forces Command since 2019. Please join me in welcoming our 49th annual Winter Commencement Speaker, General Michael Garrett.
You know, as I drove in this morning and got to watch some of you moving from your cars to the auditorium, and as I look around at the moms and dads, the grandmas and grandpas, brothers and sisters, or just people that love you, I'm reminded of a similar day 38 years ago when I graduated from college. And what I remember most about that event was Mike Garrett was the first Garrett to graduate from college. And I remember the look on my grandmother's face when she saw me walk across the stage and receive my diploma. And I can only imagine how proud moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles and cousins are of each of you today. So good morning, everybody, and congratulations to our new graduates. To the friends and family who have been part of your personal support networks, and to the Methodist University community who have helped make each of you make the most of these past semesters. I know a couple things about the power of teams who commit to share common goals and values and commit to working hard alongside one another. And I trust that you experience this to the fullest, as it is implicit in Methodist University's reputation and the way its graduates impact our community. My thanks to Dr. Worden, the Methodist University administration and faculty, the cadets from today's color guard, and of course, our graduates and families for allowing me to be part of this ceremony today. It is my honor to be here, celebrating what all of you know is a very meaningful and substantial milestone for today's graduates. Speaking as a neighbor from across town, and on behalf of Fort Bragg, the United States Army, Army Forces Command, and our soldiers and our leaders, I too want you to know how proud I am that you have worked so hard to make yourselves smarter, better, and more ready for the years ahead. I really mean that, especially the part about doing something hard, because it takes a whole lot of work to reach a day like today. That effort includes not only long hours, critical thinking, and academic rigor that went into your studies, but also resilience to balance your academic responsibilities with family, work, and all the very important things in your lives. Especially to earn your degree almost 2 years into a global pandemic that will forever define this era. This was not easy, and you had to want this. But as you know too well, simply wanting something is not enough. There are plenty of people who want degrees and who have the resources and the opportunities to pursue them, but they do not have it in them to do the hard work to follow through. You graduates, on the other hand, wanted to do this hard work because you wanted the knowledge, the personal growth, and the credibility that comes with a Methodist University education. This tells me just about everything I need to know about your character and about your fighting spirit to overcome any challenge that follows. So what do I think makes you uniquely suited to face any future challenges? As I suspect you know, and as the name of this institution suggests, Methodist University has a close affiliation with the Methodist Church. And one thing I've learned is important to the church is a concept called prevenient grace. The idea that God's grace is present and available to everyone, even before they ever needed or wanted grace. Now, I'm no theologian, and I'm certainly not here to preach to you about your relationship with God. But this concept of prevenient grace not only got me thinking about the message I wanted to leave you, about your relationships with one another and the people around you. It's a message about trust, and more specifically, what I am choosing to call prevenient trust, which means to me demonstrating empathy and courage to trust those around us before they need us to, and even before they have the opportunity to earn our trust. In my experience as an Army leader, if it's taught me anything, it's that trust is one of life's most valuable and influential commodities. And the strongest leaders, public servants, and professionals I have met are the ones who possess the capacity to trust the people around them, even in the face of uncertainty or an extraordinarily difficult task. This prevenient trust is an incredibly valuable trait for a Methodist University graduate to carry with them into the future. The effect is to empower people to speak up and to take action. It means inviting perspectives and working to truly understand the words of those around us. It means patience, attention, and clear communication. And perhaps most important, it means showing our teammates, families, neighbors, and partners that we want to trust them first and foremost by allowing them to trust us. By doing the things we say we're going to do and doing those things well. And because trust is contagious, the more we trust others early and often, and the more we show them that they can trust us, the more and more we will live, operate, and solve problems in communities where trust is given long before it's earned. Graduates, I'm willing to bet you have felt this level of trust throughout your Methodist University experience. And because I have seen soldiers find it in themselves to trust one another, to act with courage in life and death situations, I want to encourage you to make a point to practice prevenient trust in the days, years, and decades to come. Congratulations again on your graduation and on a job very well done. Happy holidays, and I want to wish you the very best of luck in the future. And thank you in advance for trusting those around you and for using your education, personality, and relationships to make our communities, our nation, and our world as good as they can possibly be. Congratulations to all of you. Freedom's Guardian.
General Garrett, thank you very much for those inspiring words and for your graciousness in honoring us with your presence here today. It is our pleasure at Methodist University to present honorary degrees to individuals who have rendered distinguished service to Methodist University, to the church, to the state, or to our nation. I would like to ask General Garrett to come forward, as well as Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Provost, and Mr. Mac Healy, Chair of the Board of Trustees, to assist with the hooding. For his impressive career achievements, phenomenal leadership, and dedication to our nation, Methodist University awards General Michael Garrett a Doctor of Humane Letters on this 11th day of December in the year 2021 at the 49th Annual Winter Commencement Ceremony. The Distinguished Graduate Award goes to one of the top 5 academic graduates identified by the registrar. Those names are prepared and presented to the senior class, and the class elects one of the graduates to speak and to represent them at commencement. I'm pleased to announce Mr. McCrae Conrad as our 2021 Distinguished Graduate. I'd like to invite McCrae to the stage.
That might have been the longest walk up here, walking up in front of everybody in silence, waiting for me. I must say, graduates, the fact that we made it to this point is pretty incredible. We've been hearing how much more different things have been since this pandemic started. And we hear it over and over, but still, it is a significant accomplishment that we finally made it here. We were all thrown off of our grooves almost 2 years ago when the school sent us home, and of course, that messed with us. We don't like change. But I will admit that one of those benefits of going to school during COVID was that longer holiday break about a year ago now. We were done with exams before Thanksgiving, which, for me, it gave me more time to spend with my family at home. And I like to think I used that time well, because I spent the weeks before Christmas patching and painting my parents' house. And for some reason, that process of prepping, remodeling, and completing each room reminds me of what we went through each semester as students. While I was working on the house, I had to find all the nails that were poking through the drywall, all the seams that had settled and formed cracks, and any dent from my siblings and I throwing something. Then I carefully painted along the ceiling where the white above would be different from the color below. Finally, I got to slap the paint on the roller and make those V's or W's that seemed to make such a solid layer of paint. I had fun doing the project and seeing how much different and better the rooms looked, but it certainly wasn't fun the entire time. For those of you who actually work in remodeling, construction, you probably think this stuff is easy, but do you know how stressful it is to take bright red paint and brush it along a pristine white wall above? Or how about one crack that took maybe 5 applications of spackle to finally get it smooth? Or the 25-foot ceiling for which I had to climb up on a rickety platform overlooking the stairs. That part was just as thrilling as terrifying. How much was each semester like this process? Choosing our class schedule as if it was the color palette. Daunting at the classes in front of us, like I was looking up at the cathedral ceiling, wondering how will I actually get this done? And hitting a rough patch at midterms, like I hit the ceiling with the tan paint roller. And I'm just glad it wasn't the red paint. Still, we dug in our heels during those challenges and completed what we started. There were certainly moments where I just wanted to stop and hand the brush to someone else. And I could do that. I wasn't alone in the remodeling project. I just simply had the free time on my hands. My family was still there to take over when the fumes were getting to me, or when my hand was getting a cramp and I couldn't hold it steady any longer. And I'm sure each of us had those moments where we just had to hand our challenges to someone else. Let them fix what they could, and then start the next day with a fresh view on which set of windows we had to put the blue painter's tape around. Even though we were able to paint all the rooms that Mom wanted and got done in time to put up the Christmas decorations, we still didn't remodel the entire house. It was just one project of many that we could do, some of which we have gotten to or will get to, and others that probably won't happen. Our time at Methodist has been like that in our lives, simply one project, packed with hard work, fun times, frustration, and satisfaction. There were projects we completed before thinking about attending Methodist. And there will be more projects once we part from here today. And that's the fun part. We get to look around and analyze what we are going to devote ourselves to. Some things will probably be a lot more time-consuming and involved. There will probably be some things that come out disappointing. Maybe that blue paint had a little bit too much gray in it. Or maybe you didn't fill the nail hole where your high school senior picture used to hang. But on those oh-so-sweet projects, the result is going to be astounding. After some interior decorating, you will look and think, that is exactly what I want. So we've finished one education project. Maybe the next step is leaping into your career head first. Going off on some adventures before being tied down, or taking this collection of learning and applying it to more rigorous studies. Whatever it may be, we can make the colors vibrant. We can put in the finest handmade furniture, and we can repurpose the rooms that will enrich our lives. When we look at what we want to do, don't just sit on your vision and wait for those walls to be painted on their own. Go make it happen, because even if that project wasn't the best, the process made you better. And even if it didn't turn out like you thought, there's always another project right around the corner. To graduates, congratulations, and here's our moment.
And now the time we've all been waiting for, the awarding of degrees. Before we acknowledge the graduates by conferring the degrees and reading their names, we ask that the audience be respectful during this formal ceremony and refrain from applause and noises that would limit the ability of the audience to hear the names of other graduates. Let's applaud the graduates again now as a group, and then one final time once all the degrees have been conferred. For the awarding of academic degrees, Provost Dr. Suzanne Blum-Malley, Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dr. Tat Chan, and Dr. J.R. Hestwit will assist me. Mr. Mac Healy, Chair of our Board of Trustees, will greet each graduate. Dr. Blum-Malley.
Good morning. Graduation is a special occasion, not only in the lives of our graduates, but in the lives of their parents, spouses, children, families, relatives, and friends. Thank you all for all that you have done to make this day possible. It is also a time of celebration for the Methodist University professors and staff who've taught and supported our students throughout their journeys. We're thrilled to see you earn your degrees today and look forward to following your successes. For our commencement ceremony today, graduates have invited persons important to them to serve as sponsors who will join them on stage and set their commencement hoods in place. We will first present the candidates for degree conferral by degree, and then proceed to calling candidates and sponsors to the stage by degree level and college. I do want to note that we have an unfortunate error in our program today. Our graduates of the inaugural Doctor of Occupational Therapy program will be receiving their degrees, and we'll be issuing a reprint of a corrected program to all. Again, we ask that you please hold your applause until the last graduate has left the stage. Today, Methodist University is graduating 165 students who have successfully completed all requirements for their respective degrees. Congratulations, graduates. Prior to candidate presentation, we have a special posthumous degree to confer. Would the family of Hennessy Smith please come forward to receive the degree? Mr. President, may I present the family of Hennessy Smith for the degree of Associate of Science awarded posthumously. We will now present the candidates for degree. Will the candidates of the inaugural class for the degree of the Doctor of Occupational Therapy please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Occupational Therapy?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Doctor of Occupational Therapy with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Medical Science please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Master of Medical Science?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Medical Science with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Will the candidate for the degree of Master of Business Administration please rise? He may not be with us, but we'll confer the degree. Mr. President, I present in absentia the candidate for the degree of Master of Business Administration.
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Business Administration with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Education please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Master of Education?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Master of Education with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidate for the degree of Bachelor of Arts?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Bachelor of Arts with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Bachelor of Science with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Social Work please rise? Mr. President, may I present the candidates for the Bachelor of Social Work degree?
By the authority vested in me by the state of North Carolina and by the Board of Trustees of Methodist University, I confer on you the degree of Bachelor of Social Work with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
Please be seated. Dr. Trey Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services, will call forward the candidates for the Doctor of Occupational Therapy and Master of Medical Science degrees. Dean Hoyt.
Would the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Occupational Therapy please come forward? Ashley Almond, sponsored by Michelle Almond, her mother. Kylie Arp, sponsored by Bill Medlin, her father. Haley Bennett, sponsored by Fred Bennett, her father. Margaret Berger, sponsored by John O'Neill, her friend. Hannah Lee Block, sponsored by Tyler Block, her spouse. Haley Dell, sponsored by Artemis Wimberly, her boyfriend. Hannah Diffenbaugh, sponsored by Ethan Diffenbaugh, her spouse. Leah Lee Edwards, sponsored by Angie Edwards, her mother. Yenabe Fernandez, sponsored by Antonio Fernandez, her father. Lauren Fisher, sponsored by Lillian John, her friend. Lauren Fry, sponsored by Andrew Cobb, her fiance. Caitlin Futrell, sponsored by Joy Futrell, her mother. Shelby Gray Banky, sponsored by Les Gray, her father. Carly Holland, sponsored by Robert Holland, her spouse. Lillian John, sponsored by Lauren Fisher, her friend. David Jones, sponsored by Kylie Andrews, his spouse. Sarah Kukin, sponsored by Dr. Albert Siemens, her grandfather. Maria Petrella, sponsored by Dr. Susan Missiano, Assistant Professor of Occupational Therapy. Anastasia Pona, sponsored by Anna Pona, her mother. Caitlin Ponka, sponsored by Kiara Ponka, her sibling. Tashara Reed, sponsored by Marcus Reed, her spouse. Kaylee Roney, sponsored by Christian Kinnaid, her fiance. Samantha Rodriguez, sponsored by Eric Mitchell, her spouse. Stephanie Rodriguez, sponsored by Galea Rosa, her mother. Kelsey Rublinger, sponsored by Mark Rublinger, her father. Alexis Walters, sponsored by Bobby Walters, her mother. Jasmine Whitby, sponsored by Tamika Pritchard, her fiancé. Elizabeth White, sponsored by Ray White, her mother. Carson Williams, sponsored by Rose Williams, her mother. Candidates for the degree of Master of Medical Science. Erin Allen, sponsored by Parker Allen, her spouse. Alexandra Cameron, sponsored by Don Cameron, her father. Yasmin Chisholm, sponsored by Michelle Chisholm, her mother. London Clark, sponsored by Joshua Clark, her spouse. Ryan Collins, sponsored by Natalie Collins, the spouse. Alan Colvin, sponsored by Lindsay Colvin, his spouse. Nithu Babu, sponsored by Babakuti John, her father. Natasha Bedoy, sponsored by Tammy Brooks, her mother. Jessica Battaglia, sponsored by Kathleen Battaglia, her mother. Dominique Battle Coomson, sponsored by Johannes Coomson, her spouse. Andrea Burgess, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Alexandra Burns, sponsored by Carson Spivey, her fiance. Caitlin Drennan, sponsored by Kirk Drennan, her father. Kieran Grogan, sponsored by Karina Azar, his girlfriend. Michael Hatzisavas, sponsored by Michael Ruff, his grandfather. Sarah Hazelbaker, sponsored by Debbie Hazelbaker, her mother. Alyssa Head, sponsored by Gail Head, her mother. Carolyn Huddy, sponsored by Ellen Thomas, her fiance. James Jones, sponsored by Ryan Jones, his spouse. Christina Catrava, sponsored by Marcella Catrava, her mother. Joshua Lorbacher, sponsored by Emily Lorbacher, his spouse. Stephanie Macklin, sponsored by Carmen Keelis, her mother. Mariana Mateo, sponsored by Guillermo Mateo. Sean Majewski, sponsored by Sean Majewski, his father. Savannah Melvin, sponsored by April Marishat, her aunt. Erin Massetti, sponsored by Christopher Massetti, her spouse. Courtney Porfilio Stitt, sponsored by Stacy Porfilio, her mother. Terry Richardson, sponsored by Larry Richardson, her spouse. Jessica Riddler, sponsored by Daniel Riddler, her spouse. John Rochelle, sponsored by Brennan Anderson, his cousin. Ashley Russell Gray, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine. Eric Rutland, sponsored by Emily Rutland, his spouse. Elisa Singh, sponsored by Amanda Singh, her sister. Samantha Thomason, sponsored by Angel Randall, her mother. Ariana Varner, sponsored by Lori Varner, her mother. Charles White, sponsored by Angela Phipps, his mother. Kaylee Williams, sponsored by Dr. Greer Fisher, Associate Professor of Clinical Medicine.
Dr. Tat Chan, Dean of the College of Business, Technology, and Professional Studies, will call forward the candidates for the Master of Education.
These are candidates for the degree of Master of Education. Jackie Bradford, sponsored by Charlotte Bradford, his mother. Carly Hayway, sponsored by Shannon Hayway, her mother. Megan Hussey, sponsored by Son Hussey, her spouse.
Dr. J.R. Huswit, Dean of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Sciences, will call candidates for the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science degrees.
The candidate for Bachelor of Arts, Lynn Baumeister, sponsored by Dr. Patrick O'Neill, Associate Professor of History. Garen Dearman, sponsored by Michael Dearman, his father. These are the candidates for Bachelor of Science. Sarah Garcia, sponsored by Dr. Eun-Ho Kim, Associate Professor of Chemistry. Matthew Heflin, sponsored by Jennifer Heflin, his mother. Kaylee Heller, sponsored by Denise Gore, her mother. Casey Holly, sponsored by Susan Carpenter, her mother. Victoria Jenkins, sponsored by Richard Jenkins, her father. Paul Kramer, sponsored by Dr. Mark Klein, Associate Professor of Psychology. Cameron Liso, sponsored by Tori Liso, her sister. Sarah Matthews, sponsored by Lara Matthews, her mother. Sarah Morello, sponsored by Tanya Morello, her mother. Jordan Probst, sponsored by Tracy Probst, her mother. Brianna Rado, sponsored by Eric Rado, her father. Diego Ramos, sponsored by Gloria Murray, his mother. Kyle Scott, sponsored by Casey Scott, his spouse. Gerald Sims Jr., sponsored by Gerald Sims Sr., his father. Abigail Siracusa, sponsored by Tony Siracusa, her father. Hallie Smith, sponsored by Sylvia Gilmore, her grandmother. Robert Sefchak, sponsored by David George, his father. Grant Williams, sponsored by Brandy Todd, his mother. Jessica Womble, sponsored by Diana Womble, her mother.
Dr. Kat Chan, Dean of the College of Business, Technology, and Professional Studies, will call candidates for Bachelor of Science degrees.
Jacqueline Arbo, sponsored by Ms. Rebecca King, Director of MU Writing Center. William Bailey, sponsored by James Walker, his grandfather. Maxwell Baker, sponsored by Dr. Josiah Baker, his father. Saint Barnwick, sponsored by John Barnwick, his father. Natalie Collins, sponsored by Dr. Gregory Collins, his grandfather. McCrae Conrad, sponsored by Dr. Harvey Wright, his mentor. Kendall Craig, sponsored by Amy Craig, her mother. Robert Kramer, sponsored by Dr. V.J. Anthem, Associate Professor of Chemistry. Angela Davis, sponsored by Winifred Rivers, her sister. Robert Dove, sponsored by Robert Dove, his father. Antonio Hicks, sponsored by Sherry Hicks, his spouse. Christopher Hill, sponsored by Monique Robinson, his mother. Sean Irons, sponsored by Cheryl Irons, his mother. Anaya Jackson, sponsored by Cassie Jackson, her spouse. Alexandria Love, sponsored by Donetta Everett, her mother. Alexander Lycan, sponsored by Glenn Lycan, his father. Wesley Manners, sponsored by Keith Manners, his father. Shayna K. Marshall, sponsored by Gabina Adakwa, her spouse. Alexander McCall, sponsored by Duncan McCall, his father. Joseph Moore, sponsored by Terrence Moore, his father. Joseph O'Toole, sponsored by Jacqueline O'Toole, his mother. Anthony Panapinto, sponsored by Lane Panapinto, his father. Mason Satchel, sponsored by Brock White, PGA Golf Management Internship Director. Ryan Shuck, sponsored by Michael Shuck, his father. Ethan James Stollmeyer, sponsored by Maria Luz Stollmeyer, his mother. John Stark, sponsored by Kristen Stark, his mother. Daniel Sable, sponsored by Christopher Sable, his father. Marshall Wood, sponsored by Jonathan Worth, his friend.
Dean Trey Hoyt, Dean of the College of Health Sciences and Human Services, will call forward candidates for the Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Social Work degrees.
Christopher Ball, sponsored by Susie Taylor, his fiancée. Shania Cornett, sponsored by Deborah Ellison, her mother. Olivia Kramer, sponsored by Linda Kramer, her mother. Tavea Hamilton, sponsored by Linda Cotton, her grandmother. Jerry Henry, sponsored by Dr. Don Brady, Associate Professor of Healthcare Administration. Samantha Jacobs, sponsored by Tina Jacobs, her mother. Candy Kinney, sponsored by Patrick Kinney, her spouse. Anna Petres, sponsored by Cesar Petres, her spouse. Martha Berry, sponsored by Brianna Berry, her daughter. Jazanae Billings, sponsored by LaShonda Smith, her mother. Jessica Calypso, sponsored by Brandon McLaurin, her boyfriend. Stephen Klein, sponsored by Steve Klein, his father. Candace Fulmore, sponsored by Kaphasia Fulmore, her daughter. Erin Samar, sponsored by Mark Samar, her brother. Philippa Wamala, sponsored by Yvonne Wamala, her sister. Bailey Warren, sponsored by Crystal Warren, his mother. Michael Green, sponsored by Francis Green, his mother.
There's one final, very important task we must complete. Will the graduates please rise? Now grasp your tassel firmly with your hand and move it from the right side to the left side of your mortar glory. Congratulations, graduates. I would now like to invite Dr. Mika Mitchell, President of the Methodist University Alumni Association, to the podium. Dr. Mitchell.
I am honored to have this opportunity as President of the Alumni Association to congratulate the newest alumni of Methodist University. It is hard for me to believe it was 20 years ago when I was sitting where you're sitting as a graduate of Methodist College. That's what it was called back then. This moment that you worked so hard for will be a memory soon. So I encourage each and every one of you to be intentional and take in this experience. Look at your classmates around you. Look at your sponsors beside you. You got to check out the audience. You have faculty, staff, family, and friends who are here to witness your great accomplishment. We are all here to celebrate with you in this moment. And as you move forward from today, remember the moments of truth, virtue, justice, and love that you experienced at Methodist University. Take these lessons with you in your careers and your communities. Join with alumni like me and thousands of others around the world in representing our alma mater well. Stay connected, and I can't wait to hear about your accomplishments in our alumni newsletter and see you at future Methodist homecomings. You may be leaving Methodist, but Methodist never leaves you. So everyone, please join me in one more opportunity to celebrate our newest alumni of Methodist University.
Congratulations, graduates, family members, and friends. This is a significant achievement, and it will change your lives in ways both tangibly and intangibly. We hope you've had a wonderful experience at Methodist University. As Dr. Mitchell said, you're now joining an elite group, the alumni of this great university. Your MU journey extends beyond today, beyond commencement. We hope your journey will bring you back to us as successful and engaged alumni, successful in your chosen careers and engaged in your communities and with your families. This is your university today, and it will always be your university. Stay in touch. Share your accomplishments with us. Stay involved. This is a great institution, and as we all work to make it even better, we'll need your help. At this time, I invite you to rise and join in the singing of the Alma Mater, led by the Methodist University Chamber Singers, under the direction of Dr. Michael Martin. Following the Alma Mater, please remain standing for the benediction and the retirement of the colors.
Hear now these words of blessing. May God's grace go ever before you. May God's blessing rest on each one of you. May God's light shine upon you and make your path clear. May hope carry you through the challenging times and gratitude always be your response to life's blessing. May your days be filled with curiosity and adventure, and may you discover the incomparable joy of living lives that bring honor and glory to God. Now go forth into the world as strong and compassionate leaders, guided by truth, virtue, justice, and love. And as you go, may God bless you and keep you this day and forevermore. Amen.